webinar, Show Your Work, Show Your Worth. My name is Paige Williamson, and I am a rising junior at Hampton University. This summer, I am interning at AMADC. To all returning members on the webinar, so great to have you back with us today. And to all my first-time guests, welcome. We're so glad you could join us. A little bit about us. AMADC is the DC chapter of the American Marketing Association, the National Association for Marketing Professionals and the essential community for marketers. We focus on providing education, career resources, and networking opportunities for our marketers here in the DMV. We're a volunteer-run organization, so there's always lots of great ways to get involved with our community. This webinar is hosted by the Marketing Mentors Network, AMADC's signature mentor program. Housekeeping. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. If you are new to Zoom, you will find the controls at the bottom of your screen. You can change your view and add comments or questions into the chat box. Please stay muted during the presentation. We ask that you contribute to the discussion today and ask questions. Add them into the chat box and we will ask them as we go, or we will answer them during the Q&A session at the end. For the Q&A, we will unmute you to ask a question, or you can continue to type in the chat panel. For everyone's reference, we'll be sending out a recording of the presentation and the PDF of the slides, so you'll have access to both after the session. About the speakers. I'm very excited to welcome Kathy Johnson to our webinar today. Kathy is Managing Director, Marketing at TDI. She has 25 years of experience in marketing, events, public relations, and broadcasting, and is thrilled to be sharing some of what she has learned on her journey with you. Kathy is also AVP of the Marketing Mentors Network. You've already met me. I'm a marketing major and on the Dean's List at Hampton University. I am also actively involved in our AMA Collegiate chapter. Angela Long is a strategic marketer with a passion for creating brands that connect with clients and that uniquely position firms and professionals in the marketplace. Angela is Chief Brand Officer of AMADC and VP of the Marketing Mentors Network. She has been running the network since 2016. She will be sharing some highlights about the upcoming session of the program. Kathy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Paige. Good afternoon and welcome to our homes. I'm never going to be able to get used to any of this. Before we start, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. You will have seen them on one of the slides before. Without them, none of these educational programs would be possible. So thank you very much to our sponsors. As Paige mentioned, I have 25 years of experience, which is horrifying to hear out loud. I seem to be kind of okay with 20, but then it hit 25 and I was like, what? But most of that is in the business to business space, working for firms that provide risk management, security, and investigative solutions to the private sector. Much of what I'm going to be saying here today is actually geared towards B2B, but the overall message really still applies, and that's you have to show your work to show your worth. So I wanted to start very quickly with a scene from The Simpsons. I'm just doing stills here, but it's a Snow White parody and I saw it on TV the other day. It's one of those things that I heard from the other room and I was like, wait a minute, someone in that writer's room understands marketing. So you've got the 7 dwarfs here. One of them has a pretty violent reaction to an intruder, wants to put a pickaxe in its brain. And the other's like, you're in marketing, why do you even have an axe? And I love the response. If you were in marketing, you'd know. And it's an exaggeration, obviously, but I think we've all felt at times like we kind of have to defend ourselves. And in fact, maybe some of these scenarios are familiar. The CEO, he sees sales metrics, right? But what is marketing really doing? The executive team, they think we cost too much money, and they don't understand what we're doing. Sales reps are focused on what's directly in front of them. It's that sale. And they might not understand how our actions benefit them. Also sales, and I hear this one a lot, hey, this great lead just came in from out of the blue. And my response is typically, we're the blue, marketing, we are the blue. So with that, I'd kind of like to open it up to a poll. In your experience, do you think your marketing team gets appropriate recognition? So Paige, launching the poll. All right, and we'll give it a couple of minutes to get everyone voting and ready to go. All right, so we see some people getting recognition, that's good. Couple with, I don't know, I totally get that answer because, you know, you might not sort of be in a place where you can see that. Some with a no. All right. We've got 12, we've 92% voting. All right, I think we're good. I think we can go ahead and close out that poll. All right, so more of you than not said no, that your team does not get the appropriate recognition for campaigns and initiatives. Some said yes, which I applaud you. I think that is amazing. And some just simply probably don't have the visibility. Any thoughts on that? Are any of these scenarios familiar? Does anyone, you know, you can feel free to put some information in the chat panel. Any comments on that? Feel free. I know we're just sort of getting used to the Zoom on here, but yeah. Well, it is something that is very, very familiar to me. Yes, so Megan says, all of those comments resonate and ring true for my team. I haven't talked to anyone really who hasn't sort of gone through this. And the more you stay in marketing, the more you'll think, okay, how am I gonna be able to get that credit and the recognition that we deserve? So moving on. So why show your work? Well, there's a few reasons for it. The biggest one, I think, is that people have these very short, very selective memories. You need to remind them every single day and at every turn what you're doing and what you've done and how it's impacted them. A lot of people in your company probably don't know how marketing works. It's a good idea to educate your company at various levels along the way. Sharing those results can actually help with that. It might actually make your workload a bit more manageable. Sharing results about everything that may have gone into a campaign will help others around you understand how much time it takes to pull these things off. Let me get rid of that. And it'll help others understand how you and your work impacted the bottom line, right? So even if you can't draw a straight line to revenue, you can show some kind of evidence that shows how you or your team supported some sort of preset goals. Your job, it can actually depend on it. If you don't proactively share results, people are gonna make assumptions about you or your team's performance. So what you really wanna do is control the narrative. Okay, so most importantly, helping each other actually helps all of us. And while working on this presentation, I looked up the purpose of AMADC, which I thought it's right in there. Our purpose is to take a leading role in driving marketing practice. So showing your work in the profession as a whole, we can actually sort of collectively move together. Showing your work shows that we are strategic drivers of result. We're not just reacting with tactics, we are driving. I was speaking with Angela about this topic the other day. We've actually been talking about it quite a bit. And she was saying, wouldn't it be great to just not have to start from scratch every single time you start a job? And taking that a step further, what about an open source platform? Some sort of platform for measurement. So I want to open this to another discussion. Again, you can do in the chat panel. Not a poll, but a discussion. Along those lines, any thoughts on what we might be able to do to help move this forward for everyone? Something that helps us all. And I'll start you off, maybe standardized metrics. That could be potential. Anyone else, any thoughts? I always think methodologies, if there was some sort of standard methodology that all marketers follow. I haven't found that in my career. There might be, but that's, you know, the kind of things that if we can do all these things for everyone, we can help move the function forward collectively. So Megan says she agrees with both of them. Fantastic. Thank you for your participation, Megan. Standardized metrics would help educate staff. I think that would be fantastic if we could have some sort of standardized metrics. Tools to be able to gather that data, something that's standardized. Yeah, and I think when we go through the presentation a little bit more, you'll see that, you know, you're getting metrics from a lot of different sources and nothing really is standardized. So, excellent. So let us jump into what results are. Results actually tell a story and they connect the dots for the audience you're speaking to. So it's important to share what you've done with different audiences, and understand what's important to them. So the CEO, he's probably not going to care about clicks or impressions, but the head of sales might, or, you know, the head of communications might. It depends. We need to make marketing less abstract for our eternal audience. And they need to understand that you put a lot of work before and after whatever marketing tactic or campaign you've done. It's not just about delivering that tangible product to your stakeholders. It's everything that went into it. Often it's easier to see sales metrics than marketing metrics because a sale has been made, right? It's concrete. Revenue has been generated, and financial systems tend to be more robust in companies because they're critical. Where marketing systems, it's thought to be, they're kind of a nice to have, right? More of an option. Where available, if you can possibly draw a correlation, do so with sales metrics. After all, you know, we're marketers, we're taking on increasing responsibility for generating leads like every year, and that's digital marketing did this. We have more and more responsibility for that part of the funnel, and we can show it because we've got these digital tools. One thing to note, in the absence of concrete results, and I'm probably going to repeat this a couple of times, show projected results or metrics on the way to results. Maybe, you know, get creative. In your marketing plan, did you set specific objectives and did you meet or exceed those objectives? That's another way to show what you have done. So I'm going to jump into 3 different campaign examples, pardon me. The first one is a full integrated campaign. The second one is a one-off tactic, and the third is an end-of-year roundup. And so, you know, all different campaigns, all different types of things. They're actual examples from my experience. I tried to anonymize them slightly, but not much. So let's jump in. This first one is one of my favorite campaigns. We had this amazing multidisciplinary team that worked on this. It was just so much fun. It was about cybersecurity readiness. We had blogs, webinars, specific content pieces for sales enablement, social media, public relations. It was like one of those, you know, dream campaigns where everything came together. And I didn't want to lose that. You know, I wanted to make sure that all of these efforts and the fact that we worked so well together were actually recognized. So this is the dashboard I came up with, and I tend to do sort of different dashboards, different looks, different slides for different audiences. This leans largely on Salesforce. So those of you who are active in Salesforce will recognize Salesforce Classic here. To be perfectly honest, I have not yet adopted Lightning. I will, I'm sure of it, but I'm just so comfortable in Classic right now. So that's that familiar kind of almost retro look. What was great is that we had this amazing Salesforce administrator at our company, and she was able to drive adoption, which meant that there was a lot of top-down support for accurate entry. So there was very little I had to massage here for this particular dashboard. And believe me, I do tend to massage things a little bit just to make sure that I'm punching up the important metrics. My audience here was our Chief Marketing Officer, our CEO, the head of the business unit, which was cybersecurity, and the company's founders. So kind of a high stress audience. They were really looking for two very specific things. Number one, how much did it cost? And number two, how much did we get out of it? So right here, you can see I included direct costs, which are, things like getting things printed, or, the cost of a webinar, or things like that. Maybe some external graphic design or PR support. Not a lot there because we had such a robust team. But what I didn't want to lose was the fact that our team spent a great deal of time on this campaign. And so what I did was I went into our time entry system, had them actually, while they were working on things, attach their time to a project, to this project. I came up with a standardized rate that averaged out everyone's time. And then I put a monetary amount to that. And in doing that, it really gave the management team an idea of, oh my gosh, look at all this money that we put into this campaign just through labor. So that was really, really important. So second question, how much did we get out of it? So I put the financial income or outcome very, very clearly up here, and the ROI right here. At the time I ran this report, the financial outcome was 178,000. You can see 178,000. You can actually see that in this funnel. Here's the green area is the 178,000. And this is a snapshot in time. All of your metrics are going to be a snapshot in time. So this is the kind of thing that you want to rerun those metrics on, maybe at a month, 3 months, 6 months. And we have a long sales cycle. This company had a long sales cycle. So I wanted to make sure that they understood what was still in play. And that's over here, and that's also in the funnel. By showing the total amount of opportunities as well as the different sales stages. So, we've got 1.86 million. Sure, we had 178,000, but this is what's still in play. And, with a 9 to 12 month sales cycle, this is an important number. I also showed what was influenced by the campaign, and then the direct opportunities, what came directly from the campaign. As marketers, we all know that it takes multiple touch points. So showing only direct opportunities really doesn't show the complete picture. So I could have said, yeah, we got 160,000 out of it. That's not going to work. We want to show the full picture, and that's why I show influenced opportunities. Okay. So this is actually my backup, but it is also a slide that I presented to our marketing team. I always have backup just in case there are questions. I show the CEO, I show, the founders our direct metrics, but they might have some specific questions, and here's that backup. But it's also good to present this to the marketing team and to the communications team. It's just a listing of, what came out of it. It helps them actually see their own efforts. Like here's 12 media mentions. So you've got, the public relations team wondering how their efforts fit into the larger campaign. So I presented that to them. And this is also backup. It is something that I presented to the business unit head, the CMO, and then also the sales team, because this is really what they wanted to know about. This is so they could understand very specifically how many leads it takes to win an opportunity, and the journey through the funnel. Again, just note that these numbers are actually going to change, right? So I ran this probably about a month after the campaign. It's something that you want to keep running and letting them know how much is actually coming out of this. The campaign is still active long after the physical campaign has ended. All right, so that is example one. So that was a full campaign. What I'm going to do here is talk about a specific tactic. A lot of you are probably really familiar with social media metrics and LinkedIn in particular. I'm business to business, as I said, so we use LinkedIn a lot for a lot of different things. It's a bit of a mishmash, this slide. I put it together very, very quickly because I really needed to show results quickly. So but this was still effective when I talked to different teams through it. So this is this one-off activity. We did it about 2 months into COVID, and it related to COVID. It was, this is for my current company, TDI, for our compliance division. The target audience, compliance directors in med tech companies. And we had this great piece of content that I wanted to amplify through LinkedIn with the goal of providing background support and specific lead generation, background support for this specific lead generation campaign. We've got this amazing guy who likes sales a lot. And he is calling into these companies just one after another. And I wanted to strengthen his position by getting our name and content in front of the people he was calling, so there'd be some sort of familiarity when he calls. So I presented this first to our sales team so they could understand what this campaign was all about. And also so that I could get them behind me, particularly the head of sales, when I lobbied management for more money to do another campaign just like it. And that actually happened. I mean, I was able to present to management, and our head of sales very much supported me because he had had time to let it sit, to let it marinate, to understand the tremendous impact of this campaign. So I'll take you through this from the left, starting on the left. You can see the original post about content in the upper sort of right section. These are actually the two different campaigns that I ran. I used slightly different parameters for both campaigns. And what I did was, you know, as a lot of us do, it was kind of an informal A/B test where I figured out which one was more efficient and then put the rest of the money towards that. So you can see this top one was definitely the most efficient. But I spent a lot of time actually in this box here, talking through the difference between sponsored impressions and if we had just let this run organically. And it was like an audible gasp moment, right? I mean, they didn't realize for $500 that we could amplify our reach that much. It was a very short campaign, only a few days, but it got in front of enough eyeballs to actually make an impact. And we took, as a bonus, we took anyone who liked it, they became leads. So that, you know, that was a nice little bonus. So it was an active lead generation campaign. All right, and so on to, oh yeah, I always like to remind, and yes, it was only $500. On to my third and final example. This is an example also from my current company. When I present my proposed marketing plan every year, I always like to show some key metrics from the previous year. And so the idea is to get the CEO, the president, you know, the budget holders to sign off on my plan and my budget by reminding them that I achieved what I set out to do in the previous year. So for this slide, one of my objectives last year, which I stated in my marketing plan, was to increase website sessions by 50% in 2019. And so here you can clearly see, you know, and I expanded on that just to make sure they can very much clearly see it. Website sessions were up 56%. This gray area is 2018 and this orange area is 2019. This is actually, the data came from Google Analytics, but I had a digital marketing firm and they sort of ran it through their own dashboard, and I thought it was prettier and a lot easier to digest. So I used that. Just a little sort of FYI, there's a drop off there only because I measured it in December. And so again, I always like to remind, any metrics that you show are just a snapshot in time. So another thing about this particular graphic is this actually helped justify money for our digital marketing department to continue their efforts in SEO and SEM. So just one slide. So speaking of SEM, this is what I spent, it's not a whole lot, on Google and Bing for 2019. And some of you are like, Bing, what? Are you kidding? But for me, again, business to business, it's super cheap and very efficient when it comes to my particular audience. And that's, you know, I found that 75% of our website visitors use a desktop or a laptop. So they're not accessing our website on mobile. and they don't change their default browser. So guess what? Bing. Fun fact about this one actually is I pulled out these Bing numbers 2 days ago because like many of you, my budget was cut during COVID. And it still hasn't quite gotten there yet. So I really do have to fight for every penny I spend. And I was able to just sort of whip this out and remind them of this particular campaign to justify the small cost for a result. And yes, you'll notice here that we only had one conversion, one very specific conversion. But what I found with our people is that the paid campaigns actually provide more opportunities for organic. So what happens is they see our ad and then they start searching for us. And so the results are actually, they end up being organic results, even though it came through the campaign. Interestingly, Google will measure that. They've got a way to tie it together and they call it a view through conversion. So someone visited it and then they converted through organic means. Bing doesn't do that. So that's just something that when I presented this, I had to walk our team through as well. And sometimes there is a need to show some very specific information. I had to anonymize this so it does not look nearly as impactful as it is. But the real slide actually had company names in there. It's names that would resonate with our team as new clients that year that are still bringing in revenue. So, there are certain, Acme Corporation, and our CEO will know exactly, oh, Acme gave us 200,000 last year. I didn't know they came through Google search, right? So it's just a nice reminder. And it's just a listing, right? But it's just a nice reminder to kind of go through and say, here are opportunities for the year. And this is where they came from. And this is one of those things that I do show a lot because again, they will forget, they have short memories. So with that, let's go through some of the platforms and sources. Let's go through some of the platforms and sources. So, I mean, as I showed you, there are so many different ways to measure things. But Salesforce tends to really be a leader. Their out-of-the-box reporting is decent. It's pretty good. And if your company is entering everything correctly, you can really get some amazing information out of it. But it actually, I don't know about you guys, I've had to do a whole program on entry before I could actually get these metrics. So a whole educational program on Salesforce, then now I'm starting to see these results come through. If you don't have Salesforce or you want to supplement it, you can look at other sources. So your webinar provider has stats. Maybe if you use Cvent or Reg Online for event registrations, there's some stats there. Website analytics, if you don't use Google, you might use the Bing analytics and combine them. You might use Adobe, which I believe brings everything together. Your marketing automation system tells you when you sent emails, who opened them, how many touches it took to get people to click on something. Social sites, and like I said, I heavily rely on LinkedIn. It's really interesting. They are constantly improving their metrics, thank goodness, because a couple of years ago they weren't so good. But I did just notice the other day that they started showing you who specifically followed your company and when. So if you're an owner of your LinkedIn site, go in and look at analytics. Just click on analytics when you're in the admin section. And you will now see, there's a little new next to it. You will see who followed your site within a particular month. Nothing you can export, but it's still good information. For us, it's their leads that I can pass along to our business development team and also to our HR recruiter. So with that, let's go ahead and do another poll on which sources you regularly use to pull metrics. Paige, go ahead and launch that poll. All right, and this is, I think this is select all that apply. There are a lot of options there. Excellent. All All right, still coming in. We're at like 78%. Grab my glasses. Okay, 85%, still going. A lot of social media metrics. That's interesting. Excellent. All right. Why don't you go ahead and end that poll, and we'll start talking about the results. All right. Is any of this surprising to anyone? You know, please feel free to throw any comments in the chat. A lot of social media sites. I mean, a lot of us are using social media, and their analytics tend to be, you know, pretty decent. Often it's not exactly what you wanted. But, you know, chances are you take that information and then you sort of, I don't want to say bend it, but you use it in a way that is advantageous for you. We've got one person who says their agency does it for them. That's great. My agency was doing that for some specific metrics, and it was extraordinarily helpful because they have the time, right? They can make it prettier and better, and it actually helps us justify their expense. I'd be interested to hear from the people who said business intelligence platform, because I think that's the kind of thing that could actually help all of us. So if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat what platform you're using, what the name of that is, that would be terrific. And then likewise with the CRM system, is it Salesforce or is it something else? I'd be interested to know that. So just throw that in the chat panel. And is anyone using Adobe? I'd love to hear someone's point of view on that. Just looking at this, I mean, kind of an interesting reminder that when you are shopping for any of the systems that you are using, be it a marketing automation system, you know, Marketo, Pardot, HubSpot, or, you know, CRM or whatever, you want to consider the metrics that you're going to get out of it, right? Because if you don't, then you're going to have a hard time connecting all of those dots. All right, let's go ahead and take down that poll and we will move on. Okay. Oh, one thing I did, you know, I've actually said it throughout this presentation, but I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again with gusto. In the absence of concrete results, show projected results or metrics on the way to results. If you don't have revenue, show the opportunities with revenue estimates. Do what you can to show all of that information. So just a few tips to round this out. You want to be proactive, constantly ask for opportunities to present results. It could be during a special management meeting dedicated to marketing. It could be just 5 minutes during a sales team meeting. Show the important stuff and tailor what you show to your audience. Again, the CEO might want to see how a campaign drove revenue. The HR director might need to know how a campaign impacted recruiting. And in fact, I'm doing a recruiting campaign right now, and I'm sending her metrics like every few hours because she is, you know, she's really wanting these resumes to come through, and she wants the right targeted resumes to come through. So a lot of communication there. Don't take credit for everything. There may be some sensitivities there. I have run into, I don't know about you guys, but I have run into situations with sales teams where they feel like I'm trying to take credit for their sale, and I'm not. I'm just reminding you that you would not have had the chance to work on that sale if not for marketing's efforts. So you want to make sure that you acknowledge everyone who had a hand in it and show how your teamwork with these internal stakeholders helped drive and realize that effort. And share more often than you think is needed. I present results often, all the time. I mean, I'm constantly like popping up in the corner saying, oh, that came from the website, and doing it formally, informally, whatever. And it is still not enough. And quite honestly, it's probably never enough. So just keep sharing, share more than you think is needed. And make sure to make it a practice. If you don't put this in your marketing plan, you might not get to it. You need to plan ahead. And you need to make sure that you are given the time to plan out your objectives and then show those results and take time to actually measure that. Okay. So that is the presentation portion. I'm going to hand it over to Paige.
So now we're going to go into the Q&A portion. So feel free to raise your hand or type it into the chat box. Kathy, I see we already have one in the chat box here.
Excellent. And so Mike says, love these channel dashboards. When presenting your dashboards to C-suite execs, what percentage of time would you say is attributed to training versus presenting digital marketing KPIs to them? So what do you mean by training exactly? By training them, by educating them on marketing? Or Mike, if you could expand, that would be terrific. And we could unmute Mike if you want to chat.
Hello, Kathy, can you hear me?
Hey, I can.
Hi, yes, thank you for this excellent presentation and taking my question. Yeah, so in the past, so for me, I'm digital marketer. So usually when I get up and present the similar types of dashboards out of Salesforce or our BI tool, they need to fully understand, first off, Mike, what is SEO? What is SEM? What exactly are you talking about? And it kind of derails just a bit, even if I send a pre-read, and I'm smirking a little bit, but over time it gets better. But I was just curious to hear your thoughts and your understanding of when you present these types of numbers and conversion rates and different things, how does it go for you? And what percentage of your time is attributed to educating and training them first, and then being able to present the data and the dashboards to them?
That's such a great question. And honestly, the way I approach it is to not overwhelm, right? And so to educate over time, right? So remember that picture of the website where it showed the difference between 2018 and 2019?
Yes.
Super mellow, very easy to see, very easy to understand. That's the kind of thing that I would sort of start off with. So there's going to be some give and take. So you're going to want to, train them up a little bit, then show them some metrics, then do a little more training and educating, and then show some more metrics. If you walk in and you have never educated them about what you're trying to do, how it correlates to your plan, and to your overall strategy, right? If you've never done that, then none of this is going to make any sense to them. So for my particular company, my overarching strategy was to make us be found, right? So that was, and I distill like a 28-page marketing plan and say, we're trying to be found. And then I show the metrics on how we were found, right? So does that answer your question? Does that help?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I agree with you on the derailing because it does derail. But I mean, just give them a little, show them what it looks like, give them a little more, show them again, and do it in different ways. I think Angela and I were talking about this the other day. I always hear this stat. I don't know where it's attributed to, but it takes people something like 6 or 7 times to understand something or to hear it. And we have to remember that when we're communicating internally as well. So just keep at it.
That's right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions? Comment from AMADC, our job as marketers is never done. And that is absolutely the truth. Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, any additional questions, I might pass it over back to Paige. Or am I passing it to Angela? I might be passing it over to Angela.
You are passing it over to me. Thank you so much, Kathy. No, that was a really, really helpful webinar. Just, marketing is not a set it and forget it as much as we would like it to be, in theory. Our job is never done. And it's such an important topic, this one. You know, as you were saying, it's so abstract that we need to consistently communicate, demonstrate, and I say defend. Like, you know, that's why we like what we do or love what we do. Anyway, thank you for that. And I'm really thrilled because today is kickoff for the Marketing Mentors Network for the 2021 session. We're calling it Unpause Your Career. This pandemic has changed many lives, more ways than one. So we're taking that route. What we do is we match senior marketers with a new market, is what we're saying. Is you can be new to marketing as a career, 3 to 5 years in, if you like. You can be new from a different field, or you could simply be in a position but wanting to level up. This program is, you can actually participate as a protege. You don't have to be sort of a new young marketer. We have actually opened the program as of today. It's a 6-month program. We do we bookend it with events throughout the session from October through April. They will all be, thanks to COVID-19, we will all be virtual for the foreseeable future, although we do hope we will have some live sessions. Cross fingers, sooner rather than later. So we are opening it up due to the pandemic to those marketers who are not working. This is generally not what we do, but thanks to the pandemic, we think it is something that we want to offer to all marketers in the DMV. So please check it out. We do have the application is actually open. The application forms are actually open. You can go fill one out today. We do have the link there, and we have a couple of phenomenal speakers joining us. We do have, the whole focus is on building a relationship with your mentor, your protege, and other marketers in the program, but we also bookend it with key and relevant topics. And we're really excited because we have, if you want to, I think there's another slide, Kathy, that highlights a couple of speakers. We have Headhunter talking about your career. We've got a leadership, creative and innovation speaker. We've got Whitney joining us for digital marketing and entrepreneurship. And given where we are again with said pandemic, and sort of the general morale, not very high right now, whether you're working or not, we have enlisted the services and support of Joanna Brandy, who is a certified chief happiness officer. So like, what can be better than having a happiness component to mentoring in this kind of challenging time? Again, whether you're in a working role or not, we think Brandy's going to be helping us out a lot. So if you're interested, please reach out to us, go to the website. Just please know that the web pages are in process, so they're not completely done, but you'll have kind of an access to early information if you would like to know and learn more about it. We'll have other great people like Kathy as part of the program. In fact, we are the management, the leadership team for the 2020-2021 session, along with Wendy Price and Julia Wilton Okribada. And I believe we'll have Paige Williamson helping us out a little bit longer. So we are absolutely thrilled about this coming fall. Please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us today. If any other questions, otherwise we will channel down. We can leave the lines open for a little bit longer for some questions for Kathy, or if you have any questions about the mentoring program. So this is your moment to ask those hard questions if someone who knows how to prove out marketing. This is so please ask your questions. Kathy is right here. She's done it. She's connected those dots. Couple more minutes.
And you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am very easy to find. And if you want to send me a message or a note, if there's something that occurs to you later on, please do feel free.
Let's see if we can find you here, Kathy.
So it looks like Wendy has a question about how many people are you thinking will be in the Marketing Mentors Network this year?
We tend to have about 50 to 60 participants in a hold on one second. I was just putting in your LinkedIn profile. We tend to have about 50 to 60 because we do like to maintain a group feel, because if the program gets too large, you're not able to meet the other participants and you get lost. So we do keep the numbers limited. It is a virtual program this year, so we're going to see how things work. It would be wonderful to have sort of a huge number, but at the same time, we do look to make that personal connection. The focus is not just building a relationship with your mentor and other participants, but also building your network. So we do highly encourage that. So it is not just a one-on-one, but it's a one-to-many. That you're building this relation in the mentor program. So I think in this virtual world as well, it is an awesome way to network. So not only build your skills, learn a few things through other people, through these great speakers, and also build your network virtually. So I highly recommend it. We love it. We're passionate about mentoring. So please join us if you haven't actually participated in mentoring in the past. We'd love to have you. So if no other further questions, I think we can go ahead and conclude. All right, so thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you at another AMADC event or the mentor program. Just reach out and have a great rest of day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.